All right. Hello, everybody. We're going to be starting really soon. Just getting some stuff ready in the meantime. All right, I am going to have to fix my streaming software apparently because something's going on. I don't know what it is. Maybe I need to update it or something. But anyways, guys, so this is my first video on YouTube with my brand new channel involving my role-playing games, and specifically we are going to be covering on this channel Werewolf the Forsaken from the World of Darkness or Chronicles of Darkness series. So if you're like me and you always wanted to play that game, didn't have enough people to play it with, or didn't know how to play it by yourself, or didn't even get to play it at all, this is going to be the channel for you. I hope to put a lot of content out there covering this game. I love this game here. Let me give you let me show you some stuff real quick. So, all right, whoops. I'll show you that in a minute. We'll go back to that. So, Werewolf the Forsaken. Basically, this is I mean, there is a video game for this game, but we're gonna be actually playing the tabletop game. I'm gonna be the dungeon master, and I've created this game, and I'm gonna be playing it solo. So if you wanted to learn how to play this game solo, you're gonna love this video because that's what we're gonna do. Um, so right here in this picture, this is all the forms of a werewolf character in this game. So you have the first person, the guy with the guns, that is your human form, the Hishu, and then you have the next form, which is the Dalu, I believe it's the warrior form. And guys, feel free to correct me in the comments if you want. I am not claiming to be a master, dungeon master for this game. But eventually I will be, because I hope to make so much content that I become like a extreme expert on this game. I love this game. I love werewolves, okay? And I like the whole setting for this game, the werewolves, the vampires, there's so much you can do with this game. Okay, so second form right there, you see the guy with his shirt off. He looks like the traditional Wolfman. That's one of the forms that they can take. I'm not actually going to go over the names, and I'm not going to go over everything about Werewolf the Forsaken. I'll make a separate video for that, guys, and tell me in the comments if you want something like that. That way I can make something like that right away. For if I see that there's people that want that and they want to know about like the game rules and stuff like that, then I'll make a video for that. But for today, we're going to be actually covering the first game session that I played solo, so you'll get to see that. And but let me just finish explaining what this picture represents. So first person right there with the guns. This is all the same person, by the way. This is just the different forms that they can take. First person, that's his human form. Then he's got the Wolfman form. The form in the middle, the giant wolf, that is the Garu form. I might have even said that wrong, but that's like the strongest form that a werewolf character in this game can take. Then you have my personal favorite form, the giant wolf. That is the wolf right next to the small wolf, okay? And then you have the normal size wolf form, okay? And in this game, basically, in this game, and this is the pack that we're going to be playing. My character is Victor, and he is part of Los Lobos del. Shoot, this last part is hard for me to say. Crepúsculo, the Wolves of Twilight. I don't know if I said that right. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, But yeah, so Victor, my character, is the second guy from the left. It's the second guy, okay? Actually, here, it's this guy right here. This is my character, Victor. Uh, and so basically in this game, you have werewolves, right? And every werewolf, they're from like again, I'm not going to get super into detail about this. This video is mainly for the game, but just real quick, in this game the werewolves have different roles, and I guess kind of like different classes and stuff like that. And so my character is more of like the is kind of like a shaman right now, but this picture that right here, the reason I'm showing you it is because this is a new pack, okay? So my pack in this game was put together by this guy, by this pack. So these guys are the Silver Syndicate, and eventually I'll have a better picture of for them. They're kind of a big pack. It looks like they got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 members. So they're a little bit bigger than my pack, but they are way more experienced. This is a veteran werewolf pack, and the guy in the middle, his name is Max Roman, and basically he sponsored. He basically helped my pack get their territory. Um, and so there are other packs in the area that my pack lives in. And those other packs are what they call Forsaken. So my pack is Forsaken. That's like, uh, again, without getting super in depth, so you have Forsaken werewolves and then you have pure werewolves. And so my pack is a Forsaken. It's part of like the Forsaken werewolves, right? The pure and the Forsaken do not get along. Okay, they have their own tribes with like their own deities that they worship, and they have their own classes as well. So I hope that kind of explains it. It's not the best explanation, but you know what? Enough said. Why don't we get straight into game session 1? All right, did everything load in here? Just see real quick. Ah, okay. Some stuff did not load. I'm sorry, guys. Just give me 1 second. It's really not a big deal. It's just some pictures. That's it. Yep. All right, that one loaded in, and then we're just missing these. Here we go. So, where are they? Yep. Okay, so once again, there's my character. There's Victor. And wow, Victor looks strangely like me in real life. I wonder how that happened. Okay, guys, so I got some information for you on the screen to kind of like help you understand what's going on and follow with me as I go over. This is going to be session 1. And we are playing solo, so we had to add some things to this game so that we could do that. So obviously, if I'm the dungeon master, right, I know everything that's going to happen, right? So I'm not going to lie to you guys, and I might be hated amongst other dungeon masters, game masters. I might be hated in the community for what I'm about to reveal, but we're living in 2026. And I'm going to utilize every tool available to me. So I have some clocks. They're called chronicle clocks. And what that does is it lets me emulate, it lets me create my own artificial dungeon master. So I am the dungeon master, but I've created like a dungeon master to kind of like keep things unpredictable using AI. And so we've come up with this clock system that will force certain things to happen based on what happens in the game. And so if you guys want a video on that, we can go over that on another video. All right, so my character Victor, he is a Bone Shadows Ithier. He's 17, and basically, he's his backstory is that he was, and I know he looks like a giant guy, but I guess that's because of the fact that he's a Uratha or a werewolf. Um, but he had a horrible backstory. Basically, he was betrayed by his family, left for dead. Basically, he was home. He ended up becoming homeless, and the craziest thing happened when this occurred. So he was actually younger than 17, a lot younger when he was betrayed by his family and left for dead and homeless. And so what ended up happening was he pitched a tent. Okay, he pitched a tent in an area to go to sleep, and for some reason a spirit, um and I'm not talking about a ghost. It's important to understand that in this game there is a difference between spirits and ghosts. Okay, so a spirit, I'm not going to really explain this like hardcore in detail, but basically a spirit is, it's not a ghost. It's not like the human thing, right? It could look like a human, but it's not. It's something entirely different. So, a spirit of abandonment basically discovers Victor, and for some bizarre reason, uh, I mean, it could be because Victor was abandoned, right? I'm kind of being silly. But so this spirit of abandonment is attracted to Victor, obviously because he was abandoned. But the thing that's odd is the fact that it's just a little bit more attracted to Victor, uh, besides the fact that he's homeless, right? So like it's attracted to Victor at first because they resonate with each other, right? The spirit of abandonment sees Victor having been abandoned, and so that's immediately what gets its attention. But once it finds Victor, something happens between the two, and Victor, his life kind of like begins to take shape when this happens, because from this point on, and we're going to jump to um, where the story begins to in the video, but uh, I'm sorry, we're kind of like talking about Victor's past right now, but basically from this point where the spirit discovers Victor till now, Victor has, because of this relationship, he's basically attracted the attention of of another tribe, of a specific tribe called the Bone Shadows. Okay, and these Bone Shadows werewolves, they they deal with this type of thing, right? And so Victor ends up getting a mentor, and you'll hear about him later in the session. And this mentor kind of like tries to help him understand things about the spirit world, and understand obviously this spirit that actually starts following Victor around. So this spirit's name is She Who Stays. It likes to take the form of a woman. Um, it doesn't always look like a woman though. It looks like a bunch of uh, necklaces and different stuff that you would typically find left on like a gravestone. So like some people would think, oh, it's got a lot of trash on it, but I mean, it could take the form of anything involving like um, stuff that's left behind, so it might have like teddy bears on it, or balloons, or usually religious stuff like crucifixes and stuff like that. um, Jewelry. A lot of times people will like leave all sorts of stuff, and so this thing, it starts following Victor, and because of this relationship, Victor basically learns like he basically has an advantage when it comes to supernatural, spirit related stuff. And so Victor eventually finds a pack of other werewolves. So going back to Max Roman, I'll go back to this page real quick. Max Roman and the Silver Syndicate, right? So Max Roman comes into the picture, and Max is basically like, "Look, I don't normally do this, you know, because this is a badass. This guy's a legend amongst the Forsaken werewolves, right? He's like, I don't normally do this, but I want to help. I want to help you and some other werewolves form a pack, and I think I have like a good location for you guys to like." Um, he basically has like a territory in mind for these werewolves to basically take over. It's nothing crazy. It's not like some extremely as far as these guys know, it's not like a it's an important location, but it's not like it's not something that other werewolves would get like super jealous over or something like that. So um Max Roman helps the pack get their first territory, and that's kind of where the game starts. So Victor and his new pack, and I'll tell you the names of his pack real quick. So Victor is not the alpha. I know some of you that are familiar with this game would probably think, "Oh, I bet the dungeon master made his character the alpha." No, my character Victor is not the alpha. So Hector, so the alpha of the Los Lobos del Cres Cres I'm gonna always mess this up. We'll just call him Los Lobos. So the alpha of Los Lobos is Hector Reyes. Okay, so obviously, guys, another thing about this game is it takes place in an area with a lot of Hispanic influence. So the alpha, his name is Hector Reyes. He's he's part of the Greater Blood Talons tribe, and he had his first change under the full moon. So he is a Rahu. Basically, again, we're not going to go into like full detail about this, but basically, he's like because of the moon and the tribe that he's in, he's ideal to be an alpha, and basically, he's like the warrior class. Okay, I wouldn't necessarily say that he's all muscle and no brains, but if somebody said something like that, I mean, it wouldn't be too far from the truth. These types of werewolves are the ones that you really don't want to get into a fight with, especially if you're another werewolf. These are the guys that this is like they're like the Spartans, in my opinion. Um, if somebody else watching this has a different opinion, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. Feel free, guys. I love talking about Werewolf the Forsaken, but this is what I've come to know the Blood Talons or the werewolves that are born under the Rahu moon. Okay, and that's another thing, real quick. Again, not going into super detail, but you're gonna start to notice that werewolves, when they have their first change, depending on what the moon looks like, what shape the moon is, determines their basically like their moon sign, right? So Hector Reyes is the alpha. He's a Blood Talons Rahu, and Victor is the next in line. He's the Bone Shadows, which I already explained is like the kind of like the necromancer, dark priest type class, um, spiritual class or whatever, shaman. So Victor would not be like a professional shaman or anything like that. He would be like the acting or the novice shaman level. And he had his first change under the Ithyr moon. Okay, so the combination of the Bone Shadows and Ithyr give him an edge when it comes to supernatural stuff. Then we have Maria Ghost Song. Oh, and you know what? Here, let's pop this up real quick so you guys can look at the people that I'm talking about. So here we go. So Hector, this guy right here, right here. Hector, uh, starting from the left, going to the right, we have Hector. And then we have my character, Victor. And then, actually, I think their names are there too. Yep. Okay, so Maria Ghost Song. That's her right there. Okay. I just noticed something. I'll fix that later. So, oh no, I think it's correct. I think, yeah. Okay, okay. So Maria Gosong. She is from the Hunters in the Darkness tribe, and she had her first change under the Cahalith moon. And so basically, her role in the pack is kind of like, let's see if it says here on the right here. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. So she's kind of like a scout, right? That would be like her class. Scout, seer. I'm not too familiar. I'm not too sure how the seer is different from the shaman. I'm a little bit confused on that. Okay, okay. Again, I'm not an expert on this game, but we want to get to that point. So that is Maria, and then we have Father Thomas, and obviously he had some kind of a religious role before he joined this pack. Father Thomas, he's part of the Iron Masters, and the Iron Masters are interesting because that's a tribe that I guess would be like the most modern tribe. They're known for being like into technology. They don't mind using things like cell phones and all the latest gadgets and stuff like that. And so, um, again, tell me in the comments if you have if you want to critique me on that. But that's how I understand the Iron Masters tribe to be. And then he was born under the Eladoth moon, which I believe is the half moon. Tell me in the comments if I got that wrong, though. And then we have the last werewolf in the pack, Elena Cruz, the Storm Lord Iraka, and that is if I wasn't going to be a Bone Shadow, I would probably be a Storm Lord. So in a werewolf pack, I think it's pretty common to either have like a Blood Talon, like Hector, or a Storm Lord, like Elena, as the alpha. Storm Lords, correct me if I'm wrong, they're kind of like warriors, but I guess they're a little less into the warrior thing. I know that they are really good at they have some kind of connection with the elements, uh, and leadership, stuff like that. So that is Elena Cruz, and she was under the Araka moon sign. And I can't think of what that moon moon symbol looks like off the top of my head. And then it says wind speaker. Okay, well that kind of makes sense. Like I said, they kind of have something to do with the elements. Now in the background, you can kind of see the spirit that's been following Victor, she who stays. And here's the thing, guys: spirits, they can take different forms. So she looks like a human right here, but she's not. Also, I just want to let any really serious game masters out there, I just want to let you know that I know some of you are probably thinking, oh my gosh, you gave your character a spirit. How convenient. Well, she's she's not very strong. She would be like rank 1. Um, she is rank 1 in the spirit world. So she's not like anything amazing. She's very limited in what she can do. Um, and So yeah. All right. That's the pack. And you know what? Let me just add one more photo so that you guys can kind of get an idea of where this is all taking place. Where is it at? Oh, here we go. All right. So here we go. These are going to be the locations today. So, first location, the pack is going to start off. This is where the pack hangs out. The old barn, abandoned, forgotten. Oh yeah. So, when they were given a territory from Max, I think a lot of werewolves, though, a lot of packs have something kind of like this because, again, in this world, you don't really want to draw a lot of attention to yourself, okay? And so Max would have told this pack, Max would have told them some kind of really scary stuff. He would have warned them and told them, look, okay, you guys are not the only werewolves around, okay? There are other Forsaken packs that are not too far away from you guys, like the next town over. There could be other werewolf packs in the town that you're currently in, just not, obviously not anywhere near this territory. Otherwise, Max wouldn't have sent them there. Um, but he warns them and he tells them, look, these other packs that are kind of like in these other towns or around you guys, and these are not like towns that are extremely far away. These are towns that like you could get to in like 30 minutes or less, okay? There's one town that'll take about an hour to get to. But other than that, most of these towns are right around there. So Max would have been like, look, remember everything that you learned from your tribes. Remember, um, if you guys have mentors, remember what your mentors taught you. And just, proceed with caution. You have a job to do, a very important job here on this territory. And so, get to it. And then he would have also told them, there is a very powerful vampire prince in a town about an hour away from you guys. So be just be aware of that as well, okay? And so I'm sure the pack would have been like, "Oh my gosh, you're just kind of throwing us into just everything over here." The other thing that one of the things that Max would have probably talked about, not in a bragging way, but he would have explained to these guys that a little bit about his history and about the area. He would have said, originally all these towns were controlled by another faction of werewolves that we call the Pure. And Max and the Silver Syndicate and other Forsaken packs, they did something that they normally don't do. They got together and there was a war, okay, and they pushed the Pure out of these towns. But all that is still kind of fresh, okay. Um, and so he would warn them that, just be on your guard. You don't know what the hell is out there, but you got a job to do, and get to it. And so our pack starts off. Um, the pack starts off they hear about reports about basically the canals, the waterways, okay, in the area that this pack lives in, okay. And when I mean canals, I don't mean something like fancy like Venice or something like that. I'm talking like farm irrigation ditches. And there is a river very close to where this pack lives, okay. And so, just from being there a few days, the pack starts hearing reports about odd things occurring. For example, water flowing uphill, okay? So water usually, it doesn't work like that. It flows one way, um, you know, and they're also hearing stuff like fish just freezing, being motionless, people just seeing these fish in the water just like motionless, not moving. Um, missing time. So like basically people they're getting reports of like people forgetting things. Um, basically not being able to keep track of where their day went. You're right. Like it's normal for someone to be like, where do you know, like they're real busy and they're like, where did the time go, right? But this is not the case here. This is more like instantaneous. Like someone gets out of their car and they have no idea why the hell they're there, you know, or they're in the middle of the grocery store and they space out for like 2 hours or something, and they're like, what the hell just happened, you know? But then so the pack hasn't really done a whole lot of adventuring into the spirit, but because of uh, Victor's spirit friend, she who stays, they have very tiny information about what's kind of going on in the spirit, and basically what they understand is there's like some kind of fear in the spirit world right now. Okay. All right. So the river barn sits in darkness. The old structure hasn't been used by farmers in years. Most of the roof sags. The paint is long gone. Outside, insects scream in the humid night. Oh, and by the way, this river has a name, guys. You might actually be able to kind of figure out, and I'm sorry to break the realism, but you might be able to kind of like figure out where this place takes place, but we're not using any real names or anything like that. Uh, for the most part, some names will be real. This river is actually part of the Rio Grande River. Okay, so back to the story. The Rio Grande moves slowly beyond the tree line. Inside, the 5 members of Los Lobos occupy the barn's main room. A folding table sits in the center. Maps, energy drinks, several old territorial records inherited from previous Forsaken occupants. No one has spoken for nearly a minute. Maria has just finished describing what she witnessed. The water moved uphill. Hector immediately shakes his head. That's impossible. Maria glares. I know. Father Thomas folds his hands. Could have been a spirit. Maria shakes her head. Nope. Another pause. The spirits were scared. That gets everyone's attention, even Hector. Spirits are many things. Greedy, violent, petty, dangerous, but rarely afraid. Elena finally speaks. Scared of what? Maria looks directly at my character, Victor. Not Hector, not the Alpha. She looks at Victor, the Ithier, the Bone Shadow, the one person in the room who might actually understand. They wouldn't tell me. Another pause, but they kept saying the same thing. Outside, wind rattles the barn. Maria's voice drops almost to a whisper. Something is moving the wrong way. Before before anyone can respond, Victor feels it. A familiar sensation, not fear, not danger, recognition. The subtle spiritual pressure that always accompanies one specific presence. A moment later, a figure appears in the doorway, silent, watching, patient. It's she who stays. In case you guys don't remember what she looks like, she who stays is this character right here. She who stays has arrived. The spirit stands motionless outside the barn, waiting, not entering, waiting specifically for Victor. And so Victor, guys, I'm gonna tell you what happened in scene 1, okay? Um I did I did a lot of rolling. So that's kind of what these videos are gonna be. So I will tell you when I rolled. So at this point I haven't rolled, but basically Victor reassures the pack. Uh, so Victor's like, "Look, guys, I'm gonna find out what's going on." Um, and he's looking at she who stays while he says this, and So Victor heads toward She Who Stays, and he's going to converse with her and see what she knows. I have not rolled at this point. All right, so Victor says this, and Hector's like, well, good, because if something's threatening this territory, I want to know what I'm killing. Victor walks toward the barn entrance. The humid air grows cooler as he approaches the doorway. Outside, She Who Stays waits beneath the pale moonlight. She hasn't moved. She never seems impatient. All right. So, one thing that I decided was since Victor knows She Who Stays, I'm not going to make Victor roll for this communication because Victor has spent a large portion of his background story um, with She Who Stays. Also, I know I didn't explain what powers Victor has, but Victor does have powers. Oh, and that's another thing, guys. Werewolves have different, what they call gifts. Sorry. Again, I'm probably going to have to make a video kind of like explaining all the little details. But werewolves have gifts or powers that allow them to do certain things. In Victor's case, like I said, he's the shaman. He's the acting shaman, a novice shaman. So he does have basic spiritual like gifts. And so one of those is he does have the ability to speak basic spirit talk, or what they call spirit tongue. So as Victor steps outside, the spirit She Who Stays remains near the fence line. She appears much as she always does, and you guys already saw the picture. A young woman formed from patchwork memories of abandoned places. Pieces of her seem assembled from empty houses, forgotten bedrooms, old blankets, faded photographs, dust-covered windows. So she looks a little bit different from the photo that I showed you. She could take that, she could resemble the photo, but in this situation, she's got other stuff on her. Forgotten when it comes to like old blankets, try to imagine like her arms taking on like different designs that you would see on blankets. I'm actually I've got that. I'm actually thinking of like something like henna paint. You know, like in some countries they put like the henna paint on their arms all the way to their fingers. So imagine like old blanket designs, but like henna painted onto her arms and stuff like that. Her green eyes, her green spiritual eyes meet Victor's. So not necessarily like green eyes like human green eyes, but like green glowing eyes. Her green eyes meet Victor's. She says nothing, not yet. She's waiting for him to speak first. Again, we're not rolling yet. Victor greets her. Victor assumes she is there because she always seems to stay close to him. He appreciates the company. They have a long history. He gently asks her if everything is okay. And this is the part where you start to see that She Who Stays is really not like a human being. Very tiny hint of human, but obviously she Who Stays is something completely different from a human ghost. She's a spirit. So Victor steps out into the night. The sounds of insects and distant water fill the silence between the barn and the river. Behind him, the pack remains inside, giving him space. Ahead of him stands She Who Stays, as always, as she has for years. The spirit's form shifts subtly as Victor approaches. Fragments of old wallpaper flicker across her skin. For an instant, he recognizes a faded floral pattern that reminds him of a house he once slept beside when he was younger. Then it is gone. Victor activates Spirit Tongue and offers a small smile. Hello. The spirit's expression softens, not dramatically, just enough. Victor continues. See, so she's not really acting like a human. Victor continues. I figured you were here because you always seem to be. There's a pause. I don't mind, says the spirit. Another pause. And then Victor says, actually, I appreciate it. She who stays lowers her eyes briefly. Spirits don't always react to kindness the way humans do. Sometimes they don't understand it at all. That also could be because she who stays is a spirit of something opposite of, well, not opposite, but just this spirit doesn't resonate with kindness. There are some spirits that would totally understand things like kindness and lust and stuff like that. But she who stays is not that type of spirit. She who stays is a spirit of abandonment, of being forgotten, stuff like that. So she understands. Maybe because Victor taught her, or perhaps because she learned by watching him survive. Victor gently asks, "Is everything okay?" For several moments, she who stays doesn't answer. Instead, she looks toward the river, toward the darkness. Let's see if we got a picture of the river. Do we have a picture of the river? No, we don't. Oh, that's kind of sad. So she looks. She looks towards the river, toward the darkness beyond the trees. When she finally speaks, her voice sounds like pages turning in an empty room. No. That alone is unsettling. So Victor was like, "Is everything okay?" And she's like, "No." After a long, pause. That alone is unsettling. She who stays is rarely alarmed. She embodies endurance, remaining, persistence, things that survive abandonment, because she's an abandonment spirit. For her to answer so directly means something is wrong. Her gaze never leaves the river. Something is taking things, she says. Victor immediately notices her choice of words. Not killing, not destroying, taking. The spirit continues. Places. A long pause. Moments. Another pause. Memories. The air around her grows colder. A crossing spirit forgot where the bridge was. A river spirit forgot which direction the water moves. A ghost forgot the face of her son. For the first time since Victor has known her, he hears uncertainty in her voice. I do not understand, she says. Then she finally turns and looks directly at him. There is something else. Something she hasn't said yet. Something she's reluctant to admit. Victor, she says. I think it noticed me. So, this statement is strange to Victor because spirits constantly notice one another. In fact, spirits in this game, they eat each other sometimes. They prey on each other. For she who stays to say it noticed me, implies she believes there is a specific intelligence behind these things that are happening. She believes it is aware. She believes it is powerful enough to frighten her. So we're not rolling yet. Victor asks, is it a spirit? The question hangs in the humid night air. Victor has spent enough time among spirits to know that definitions matter. A ghost is not a spirit. A spirit is not acclaimed. Acclaimed is not a host. And just so you guys know, for anyone that's new to this game, claimed, host, ghosts, those are 3 different types of entities in this game. Victor looks at She Who Stays. Is it a spirit? For several seconds, she doesn't answer. Instead, she turns her head slightly toward the river, toward the darkness, listening. Not to Victor, to something else. The gesture alone makes Victor uncomfortable. Then she finally responds, I don't know. The answer immediately worries Victor. Spirits are usually very good at identifying other spirits. A wolf spirit knows a wolf spirit. A river spirit knows a river spirit. A fear spirit knows a fear spirit. The shadow has categories, rules, patterns. She Who Stays continues. It smells like a spirit. It moves like a spirit. It eats like a spirit. Then she hesitates. But when I look at it, for the first time her voice falters. I forget what I was looking at. Silence. Even the insects seem quieter. Victor immediately realizes something important. Whatever this thing is, it may not merely be causing memory loss, it may be causing conceptual loss. The inability to properly understand or categorize something, that is far more dangerous. She Who Stays takes a step closer, a rare display of vulnerability. Victor, I went to watch it. Then I forgot why I was there. When I remembered, I was miles away, and 3 nights had passed. 3 nights. Victor is certain she never mentioned that before. Then she reaches into the folds of her strange dress, slowly, carefully, and produces something, a small object. Something she recovered before she fled, something she has brought specifically for Victor. She opens her hand. Inside rests a smooth stone, wet, cold, river smoothed. At first glance, completely ordinary, but the moment Victor sees it, he feels a faint tug somewhere in the back of his mind, a sensation like remembering a dream or forgetting one. Here's where I rolled. So I went ahead and had Victor roll intelligence plus occult for investigation. And Victor was successful enough to learn something, not enough to learn everything. Victor accepts the stone from She Who Stays. The moment it touches his palm, a chill runs up his arm. Not physical cold, spiritual cold. The kind of sensation an Ithier learns to recognize. Victor turns the stone over slowly. To anyone else, it appears ordinary, but to Victor's senses, something is wrong. Very wrong. The stone possesses a spiritual resonance, yet it doesn't belong to a river spirit, a water spirit, a memory spirit, not even a death spirit. It doesn't belong to any spirit choir Victor recognizes. By the way, guys, spirit choirs are basically groups. They're major groups that spirits belong to. So like a death spirit has a choir that it belongs to. Like a choir is kind of like a gang. The stone possessed a spiritual resonance, and it didn't belong to anything Victor recognized. That alone was unsettling. Then Victor noticed something else. For just an instant, he forgot why he was holding it. Only for a heartbeat, a tiny lapse. Then his thoughts returned. The experience was so brief that another werewolf, Uratha, might have not even noticed it. But Victor noticed. So Victor learns from this stone that whatever is affecting the canals is capable of affecting memory, not just human memory, spiritual memory. Victor knows that the stone is contaminated, not possessed, not claimed, contaminated. Something touched it, something left a trace. And Victor knows that the trace is recent, very recent, within the last couple of days. She who stays watches Victor carefully. When she sees his expression, she already knows he felt it. Her voice lowers. You felt it. Not a question, a statement. Then she points toward the darkness beyond the trees. Toward the canal system that came from there. Okay. So, at this point, guys, I have a system that I use to make things happen. I'll have to explain this system in another video, but basically I have a totem clock. Also, that's another thing that I forgot to mention. This pack is brand new. They do not have a totem. So as we continue to make these videos, you will also get to witness how this pack obtains its own totem. And a totem, I'm not talking about like one of those Native American poles. I'm talking about like a totem in this world. Not to get too much in detail, a totem is like a giant. It's like, it doesn't have to be giant, but it's a spirit that usually is stronger than like a spirit like She Who Stays. It's stronger, and it'll give the pack certain powers, but at a cost. It'll usually for like a trade for the pack has to like agree to certain things, and it also has to agree to not do certain things. So the pack doesn't have a totem yet. In other words, it doesn't have that spiritual that spirit. I can't think of the word, but anyways, I have a system to make certain things happen, and so at this point, we went ahead and moved the little clock hand down one towards something that's going to happen at some point. And this is so that I can play the game solo and so that we can kind of keep it randomized. Okay. So I had some options at this point. I could return to the pack and report what I learned. I could question She Who Stays further. I could ask if she could lead Victor to where she found the stone. I could use a gift or another supernatural ability. I could immediately invest the canal tonight, or I could do something else entirely. And I basically chose I chose to return to the pack and report what I had learned. And I'm sorry for the little pause right there, guys, but I actually copied something twice. And so that is why, that's why there was a little hesitation on my part. I'm sorry. When I finish this video, I will definitely make some timestamps so you guys don't have to deal with that nonsense. Let me just delete this real quick. Okay. All right. Okay, so Victor returns to the pack and he basically tells everybody still inside the barn that basically he tells them what he knows. She Who Stays remains where she is. She's just watching and waiting like she always has. Before Victor leaves, though, he says, "Thank you. She doesn't answer immediately, though. After a few seconds, she says, "Be careful." Then she looks toward the canal again, a trace of unease crossing her face. It knows things are looking for it now. It knows things are looking for it now. That statement repeats in Victor's mind, and it bothers Victor. The wording feels deliberate. Not it knows you're looking for it, but it knows things are looking for it. As though whatever this is notices attention itself. Victor returns to the barn. The old door creaks as he enters. Immediately, all eyes are on him. Hector speaks first. Well, now let me put a picture of Hector real quick so you guys know. Okay, let me actually make this smaller. Right. Make it a little bit smaller. There, now you can see all the stuff. All right. So Hector's like, well, Victor explains that she who stays is concerned. He explains that spirits are forgetting things, and he explains, just the examples that a crossing spirit forgot where a bridge was. A ghost forgot her son's face. She who stays found a contaminated stone near the canals. Victor places the stone on the folding table. The room grows quiet. Father Tomas leans forward. Contaminated? By what? Victor explains that he couldn't identify the resonance. That gets a reaction, a bad one. Thomas knows how skilled Victor is. Even though Victor is a acting shaman, he does have a spiritual background. That's one of the reasons why he was accepted into this pack. If Victor can't identify it, that means something unusual is happening. Maria speaks next. I told you! Nobody argues. Elena studies the stone. So what now? The question hangs in the room. Even Hector waits. For the first time tonight, nobody has a plan. Hector eventually breaks the silence. Then we go to the canal. Simple. Direct. Exactly what Victor expected. Father Tomas shakes his head. Or we gather information first. Maria says, spirits are already panicking? Elena butts in. And if we wait until morning, whatever caused this could be gone. The pack is looking for direction, not necessarily leadership. Hector is still alpha, but Victor is the expert here, the Ithier, the investigator, the one with the only clue. So at this point, guys, like I said, I have a system. So I went ahead and did this little random clock thing. And basically, this is what Victor is going to recommend. Victor considers the options. The contaminated stone bothers him, but something bothers him more. The spirits. Every clue so far points in the same direction. Spirits are frightened. Spirits are forgetting. She who stays doesn't understand what's happening. A crossing spirit forgot where a bridge was. If anyone knows more, it's likely the local spirits. Victor looks around the table. The sleeping locust. So, real quick, sleeping locust. So, basically, a locust in this game is a very special place in this, in this game. When you have a territory and you're a werewolf, a locust is kind of like it kind of reminds me of like a health fountain. it can restore like it can restore like your mana, your magical power, or your essence. Um, it's it's very important in the spirit realm. So it has a physical location, and then it's got a spiritual location as well. And it's also a place where you can easily cross from the physical into the spiritual. So the pack knows that this territory has a sleeping locust. They probably were told that by from Max Roman. So Victor looks around the table. The sleeping locust. He says that. The sleeping locust. Hector frowns. Why? Victor taps the stone. Because whatever this is, it's affecting spirits first. Father Thomas nods. Maria immediately agrees. I was going to suggest the same thing. The decision is made. Within minutes, the pack is moving. The old truck belonging to Father Tomas rattles down a narrow dirt road beyond San Cedro. The moon hangs high overhead. Fields stretch into darkness. The river glimmers in the distance. And so, guys, we are going to stop right here because we are an hour into the video, and then I will have the next part of this. I'm gonna make like a long series on YouTube for you guys. But my overall goal with this, and the reason I'm putting it up here, is I'm actually putting these videos up for myself because I really enjoy this game, and I wouldn't mind listening to myself playing this game, throughout the day. And I can't find anybody else that's doing that's playing Werewolf the Forsaken. It's kind of an older game, but it's a great game. It's like Dungeons and Dragons. It's tabletop. You use dice. Most people are probably more familiar with the vampire versions of this game. So if you ever played Vampire Bloodlines or Vampire the Masquerade, it's basically the same makers of those games. If you might even be familiar with Werewolf the Apocalypse. There's so many different games that were made by White Wolf. Anyways, guys, that's it for this video, and I will have so this is session 1, part 1. I will have session 1, part 2 in the next video, guys. Thanks for watching. Y'all take care. And oh, one last thing I forgot to mention is another reason why I'm doing this is because I will be starting a Werewolf the Forsaken game on the website Roll20 if anybody's interested in playing with me. I will not be a character, I'm not going to bring Victor, my character, into that world. That'll be strictly you guys, and I'll just tell the story for you guys and help you play the game. So that'll happen later. Anyways, guys, take care. Thanks for watching.